let's go to Saturday. Big Ten action, Illinois, Nebraska. We've got obviously an interesting one here. Illinois 7.5-point road favorite, 7.5, 51.5 the total in this game. I'm high on this Illinois team. I'd probably only look to lay it here with Illinois. Will I is the question. I know I'm probably not going to be interested in Nebraska. Nebraska is off a bye. So is Illinois, though. And Illinois was off a nice, impressive win against Minnesota at home, 26-14. Remember, that was a game where, when you look at it for Illinois, they had some issues. I mean, they had a couple of injuries. That was a concern. Of course, Minnesota ended up having Tanner Morgan get injured in that game. And then the backup came in, the Greek stallion, Kaliakmanis, and he really struggled in that game against Illinois. Illinois got the victory. But, Brett Bielema, all of a sudden, one of the more underrated coaching jobs this year, 6-1 straight up for this team, 5-2 against the spread. When you look at Nebraska, it's kind of been all over the place since the firing of Scott Frost. When you look at their results, they had that first win against Indiana, 35-21. They did find a way to beat Rutgers 14-13. They did hang tough with Purdue. We'll give them credit. 43-37. Defense couldn't stop Aiden O'Connell and the Boilermakers, but you got to give their offense credit. Put up 37 points. Casey Thompson had 354 passing yards. So, no, there's definitely a pulse. There's definitely been some signs of life here for this Nebraska team. But I'll tell you this right now. There's no comparison to these two teams on the defensive side of the football. You have Nebraska, 123 total yards per game allowed, 121 passing yards per game allowed, 114 in rushing yards per game allowed. That's their ranking in terms of defensive numbers in those categories. Hundreds. They were talking about bottom 20 defense in all those categories in college football. And then you look at Illinois' defense, number one in total yards per game allowed. How about that? Second in passing yards per game allowed, third in rushing yards per game allowed. First, number one in points allowed, 8.9 points per game, believe it or not, for this Illinois defense this year. Now, if they faced a ton of great offenses, no. It's been schedule related. They played Indiana, they played Virginia, Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota. Not a ton of phenomenal offenses, not a lot of great quarterbacks either. And Casey Thompson, look, he makes mistakes. He's got some interception issues, but he's got some ability to make plays. And this is probably going to be the best passing quarterback maybe since Bazelak, and they faced him with Indiana early in the season. And that was the one game they lost this year, Illinois. So I am interested to see if maybe Thompson can get things going through the air. The secondary might be the one little bone to pick you have with Illinois' defense that maybe you could throw on them. But other than that, they've been excellent. I'm still not willing to fade Illinois. They've been a team I've been backing with success much of the year. It's a question of, do you want to lay 7.5? And honestly, early in the week, I'm not sure. I'm leaning Illinois, but going to have to do some further looking into this one with both teams off the bye. And Nebraska, they have competed, since the coaching change. Beat Indiana, beat Rutgers, and hung tough with a very good Purdue team. So maybe they can hang with a very good Illinois team, although Nebraska does have that feel. Nebraska's taken a step up in class here. What do you think about this one, Conor?
Yeah, you mentioned it. Both teams off the bye. I think this is Illinois' game. I don't know if you want to now lay it over a touchdown in this spot. I look right to the total here, though. I want the under because I think they dictate the pace when they run it with Brown. They won't throw him. DeVito will do his job as a manager. And I think their defense is good. You mentioned it's who they played, but this is another, Nebraska team that I don't think, Casey Thompson's been pretty good, but mistake prone. So I think they dictate the pace, even on the road here. I think this total is way too high. So I love the under here. I think this stays way under the total. But the points, this could get close. As much as I think Illinois is the better team, it's not easy to go in there and win by 7 or more, a touchdown now. So just give me the under.
Like this team could actually, because remember, with Illinois, you look at the Big Ten standings, they are in the weaker division. They're in the West Division, and they are on top in the West Division with a 3-1 Big Ten conference record so far. Like, we could be talking Illinois in the Big Ten championship game. It's not crazy to say that now. It could honestly happen. Like, you look at them, all the teams around them. Purdue is still a threat. They're 3-2, but I'll take Illinois on the defensive side right now over Purdue. Nebraska 2-2. Nebraska, believe it or not, still got a pulse now with 2 wins. Wisconsin, forget it. I just don't see enough consistency with them. And obviously Minnesota, Iowa, Northwestern 1-3. It's going to be an uphill battle for them, to make the Big Ten championship game out of the West Division. But Illinois could be that team that, is playing Ohio State, in the Big Ten championship game in early December.